The ruins of a town called St. Thomas in Nevada were once submerged. This ghost town was flooded in the 1930s, when the Hoover Dam was built, creating Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the United States. Residents of this small town were forced to relocate. The most recent departure occurred in 1938. He set fire to his house before boarding a boat and rowing away. People came to this town to see if this location was once 60 feet below the water. Water levels fluctuated over time, and the lake reappeared several times during the 20th century. However, it has now been above water for nearly 20 years and is unlikely to return anytime soon. It's because Lake Mead's water levels have been dropping for years, and it's fed by the Colorado River, which serves as a lifeline for over 40 million people in the western United States and Mexico. And as you can see from this town, the river is not as plentiful as it once was. You've probably heard about California's droughts and wildfires, Arizona's groundwater drying up, and entire communities such as Navajo Nation being left without running water. So why does it appear that the American West is rapidly running out of water? Decades of ambitious infrastructure projects, combined with the use of more water than nature can provide, have all but accelerated desert water scarcity. However, the future does not have to be as bleak as the ghost town. Welcome to the Financial Flow. Please like and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to stay up on our latest videos. Take a look at this map. It depicts what state borders in the western United States should and almost should not look like. It was built in the 1800s by John Wesley Powell, a Civil War veteran and the first white man to explore the Colorado River by boat. He went on to write one of the most influential water reports in the West, which was published in 1878. Powell created a map based on the natural flows of the rivers and their watersheds. It was his solution for how to best control the rivers, irrigate arid lands, and distribute water equally among inhabitants. Instead of Powell's careful science, myth and blind growth took its place. Prior to Powell's trip downriver, a group of Mormons who had been violently excluded from other attempted settlements in the United States arrived in what would become Salt Lake City, Utah. In July 1847, their leader, Brigham Young, declared this dry and dusty land as the location for his people to settle. After years of persecution, the Mormons had finally found land, and that was part of Mexico at the time, and where they could practice their religion in peace. They also saw a lot of potential in the mountain streams. Prior to traveling to the Salt Lake Valley, they visited Santa Fe and learned how communities there were already sharing water and digging irrigation ditches. President Theodore Roosevelt signed it in 1902, and it established the Bureau of Reclamation. It is the reason of the modern West exists in the way it does. It was time in the 1920s to allocate Colorado River water equally among the states in the Colorado River Basin. A compact between these states would prevent future war controversies and would also aid in the region's future agricultural and industrial development. During a hearing, Eugene LaRue, a hydrologist with the U.S. Geological Survey, challenged Congress. It's a little-known fact that John Fleck discovered. The nation proceeded with its plans, and river governance has evolved over time with new agreements and compacts added collectively, known as the Law of the River. These projects brought to life to the masses in the United States, and are responsible for the formation of many of our Western communities. Though some people no longer have access to water, because the Colorado River's water is now shared by 7 western states and a portion of Mexico. It's a complicated water source that wends its way from the Rocky Mountains through the Grand Canyon and into Mexico. Yet, unlike in the past, it rarely flows all the way to the sea. Mexico's river has run dry. Dam construction may have slowed in the 1970s due to environmental concerns and cheaper alternatives. But we now know that these solutions are no longer repeatable, as the West faces an emerging mega drought that has the potential to eclipse the worst drought on record from 1,200 years ago. All the infrastructure systems we built must assume that climatic patterns will repeat themselves, the way water cycles are changing as a result of climate change. Droughts in California have resulted in over 1 million people being left without access to safe drinking water because of previous decisions. 30% of the Navajo Nation lacks access to clean water, which has been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Residents and farmers in Arizona have suffered as billions of gallons of precious groundwater have been drained. We are finally coming to terms with years of water policy that was primarily guided by 2 principles: a first come, first served mentality, and a use it or lose it doctrine, neither of which encourage conservation. You have a water culture in which you share the available water during a drought, whereas Western water law states that those with higher priority receive all their water during a drought before others. Freshwater habitats have also suffered as a result of the pollution. For years, fish and bird populations in the Colorado River Basin have been declining. People continue to migrate westward. Today, the American West is home to 5 of the country's top 15 fastest growing large cities. But there is something remarkable happening in many of these cities. Instead of complaining about water scarcity and being unable to do anything, people recognize it by looking around and using less water to help the nation, and they are extremely successful in doing so. Water consumption is decreasing, even as population increases. It's a surprising trend seen in places like Las Vegas, Albuquerque, and Phoenix, where the grand projects of the 20th century may have come to an end. Though they may have given way to smaller and more sustainable solutions aimed at conserving existing water. Much of this is due to legislation passed nationally in the early 1990s, requiring that every toilet, faucet, and showerhead meet certain efficiency standards. Other innovative solutions include using recycled wastewater or non-drinkable water to irrigate golf courses and public parks. Cities are also starting to implement green infrastructure, which entails creating more natural spaces to catch rainfall rather than simply letting it run down a storm drain. People will also reduce their personal water use when they are aware of droughts that may affect them, according to research. People can get by with a lot less water, and all they have to do is recognize that they can. Despite this encouraging and unexpected development, we continue to consume more water than our existing systems can provide. New proposals such as the Lake Powell pipeline in southern Utah demonstrate this. The project proposes moving millions of gallons of water from Lake Powell, a reservoir on the Colorado River, approximately 140 miles to the region's growing metropolitan area. How can we improve our water use efficiency? How can we use less water instead of always looking for more? Because there's not going to be more, and we do know that the supply is going to diminish, and so our demands must diminish. Water gives life to millions of people in the West, but it also has a complicated history that left out a lot of people, and now we're faced with the effects of this, as well as with climate change. Mark Rayner stated, "One does not really conquer a place like this. One inhabits it, like an occupying army, and makes, at best, an uneasy truce with it." This century with ghost towns emerging from the depths will change what the West looks like. But now is a good time as any to make a truce with the natural flow of the rivers and create a more equitable future for water in the West. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Have a good one.